Right, I've hopped down to the kitchen. So we're going to do some cooking this afternoon. If you've already done something like this over Easter, then you've already done the challenge. Or you might be able to make something different, something better than what I'm going to make. And if you do, put it on tapestry so I can see. But because we're in the kitchen and we're cooking, you've got to make sure you are with an adult if you do this. You're not allowed to do any of this without an adult, okay? It's going to have hot boiling water and melting things, so you've got to make sure you're with a grown up. What's the first thing we've got to do if we're cooking? Wash our hands. So I'm going to go over to the sink and wash my hands carefully. Right, so I've done that. Okay, make sure you do. You don't want any germs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make some chocolate Easter nests, which I'm sure you can all do. But if you're in school, we definitely would have done that today. So the first thing we need to do is turn our chocolate into something that we can use to make the nests. So first I'm going to do is get a saucepan and fill it with some water. Right, so there's my saucepan. I've put the heat on. So what do you think is going to happen to the water? Yeah, the heat should warm the water up, and I want it to be boiling. Do you know what water looks like when it's boiling? It should be really bubbling, and if I had a thermometer, which I don't, it would be about 100 degrees, which is very, very hot. So this bit's very, very dangerous. You have to make sure you are with an adult. So I'm going to boil the water, and while that's boiling, let's look at the chocolate, the best bit. Right, I've put my chocolate into a glass bowl, but it's no good. Look, I'm trying to stir it, and I need it to be able to mix with things, but what's the problem? Yeah, my chocolate at the moment is solid. That's what we would say if you're a scientist. It's solid. And what would I need it to be if I want to mix it into a mixture? What do I need it to be? I need it to be a bit more like water, a bit runny. I need it to be more like a liquid. Now to turn this solid into a liquid, what do you have to do? Do you know? You have to heat it. So that's why I've put the water on to boil, and I'm going to heat my chocolate to turn it from a solid into something called a liquid. Now, to help it turn into a liquid quicker, I'm going to break my chocolate up into lots of pieces, which I'm sure you can do this bit with your fingers. Alright, so I've broken all my chocolate pieces down into small ones. Can you see? That's that big bar, sorry, into small chocolate pieces. But it's still solid. I can pick it up, I can hold it. It's firm. And what I need to do is to turn it into a liquid. Now, I'm using the word solid, and I'm using the word liquid. If we look at the water, that is a liquid, it's runny, and there is a sign, well, there's a couple of signs, that it is getting ready to boil. What are the signs? Can you spot anything? Right, can you spot the bubbles? That means it's very hot in that pan, so you have to be very careful. But also, can you see there's something coming out of the pan now, coming off the water? The water is heated so much, it's boiling, that it's turning into this steam, water vapour, which is a type of gas. And there's gas all around us in the air. So there are different types of matter, how things are in the world. You get them as solid, liquid, and gases. Lots of the gases, most of them you can't see. Like if you take a deep breath now, you've breathed in lots of different gases. Which is the gas we use? Can you remember? You say oxygen? Yeah? And then when we breathe out, who knows what we've turned that oxygen into? Can you remember? Carbon dioxide. Right, now look, can you see and listen how bubbly it is? It reminds me of being in Mrs. Witchy Poo's house, like the cauldron bubbling away. Right, that's very hot. So safely now, I'm going to put my bowl of chocolate over this boiling water, but I'm just going to turn it down a bit so I don't burn myself. Just let it go down a bit. God, look at the steam coming off it now. Whoa. Right, with your parents must do this bit, the adult bit with you. I'm going to put the bowl over the saucepan. Now my bowl isn't touching the water, so what's happening now is all that steam, that hot vapour, because that's really hot as well, so be careful, is now doing something to the bowl. It's starting to heat the bowl. So what do you think is going to happen to the chocolate as it gets heated up, as it gets warmer? What do you think? Yeah, it's going to do, the science word is, it's going to melt. The solid is going to melt into a kind of liquid. Just make sure you're being safe, please. And it does it quite quickly, so I'm going to start stirring it. Oops, mine's maybe still a bit too high. Can you see down there where it's starting to melt? The solid is turning into a liquid. Just going to turn it down a bit more. Look, it's melting quite quickly. Can you see it? Because it's so hot. The bowl's getting hot. Oh, look at that. So there's a bit of a solid chocolate there. And can you see the gooey bit there where it's starting to melt? So this should turn quickly into a gooey liquid. Now, we call it a physical change because we're changing it from a solid into a liquid. That's a science thing. But what's clever and special about this is we actually could reverse the change. You know, like when you reverse a car and you go back to where you were. If you cool down the chocolate, it would go back into a solid. Maybe you could try that actually. Maybe you could keep some and see if you can get it back into there. But you'll see on our finished product later that it actually is solid again. Right, once that's melted, we'll be ready. Oh, look at that. Now remember, this chocolate will be getting hot as well, so be careful. Although, wouldn't it be nice to have a bath in that? That's it. Can you see? It's almost going, look how gooey and liquidy it's becoming. Oh, if you were here, you should smell it. Oh. Now, while that's melting, I'm just going to put some of these cake cases into a tin. Not because we've got to cook them, but just because we'll need somewhere to make the nest. So maybe you could do that while we wait for the chocolate to melt. Oh, look, it's ready. Oh. Right, now carefully with your adults, make sure I take it off the heat and turn the oven off. Make sure I don't get burnt. Might use oven glove if it's really hot. Now it's liquid, we can use it to make our nests. Now we need to work a bit quick because if the chocolate starts cooling down, it's gonna turn back because it's a reversible change into a solid. Oh, it does smell nice though. Now if you've got some, I don't know, Rice Krispies, cornflakes, shredded wheat, you need to tip some of that now into the bowl to make your nests. So I've added some cornflakes. Oh, listen to that sound. Which again are solid. Now my job is to mix all those cornflakes and cover them in the gooey melted chocolate. I'm sure you can do that bit. So get mixing, start making your nests. Right, there we go, all mixed in nicely. Your parents might even have other ideas what you could stick in. But I did these over the weekend and it worked lovely. So the last bit to do from the bowl is now get another spoon and spoon the mixture into your paper cases. Alright, so fill up your paper case, make it a good nest. Oh, that looks nice. And then quickly put on top some mini eggs. Ta-da! Right, so use all your mixture and fill up your paper cases. I'm just going to do mine. Ta-da! Right, there they are. So, they're still a bit warm at the moment and I want them to turn right back into solid, that chocolate. So, to heat it, when we heated it, it melted the chocolate. So we've got to do the opposite to turn it back into a solid, and that's cool it. So I'm going to put mine in the fridge. Because the fridge is nice and cool. And hopefully I'll be able to have one of those in a bit at story time. What's left to do, I wonder? What could possibly be left to do with this? What do you reckon, guys? Right. Oh, I think I might see you quite a lot later. Or might be some time.